Have you ever wondered why some people stay sharp, active, and full of life well into their 80s, while others begin to fade after 60? The answer isn't just genetics or luck. It's hidden in the blood, more precisely, in the arteries. These invisible highways that carry oxygen and nutrients to every cell in your body hold the secret to how long and how well you live. And the truth is, many people are walking around with arteries that are quietly hardening, clogging, and narrowing, long before they ever feel a symptom, the real tragedy. By the time signs like fatigue, chest tightness, or memory fog show up, the damage is already underway. But here's the good news. There are natural, powerful foods that you might already have in your kitchen, that have been shown to help clean the arteries, support blood flow, and even extend lifespan. Not pills, not surgeries, just everyday choices that could mean the difference between a vibrant old age or one filled with doctor's appointments and fear. In this video, we'll reveal 6 of these artery-cleansing, life-extending foods, all backed by scientific research, and show how they can work to protect your heart, your brain, and your independence after 60. And we'll do more than just list them. You'll see what happens when 2 very different seniors, one who embraced these habits and one who ignored them, walk down the very different paths that follow. If you're serious about protecting your future, keeping your mind clear, your heart strong, and your freedom intact, stay with us until the end. This information could change the way you age. Comment number 1 if you're ready. Let's start with something many people overlook. The silent, powerful force hiding in a bowl of greens. Spinach, kale, arugula, Swiss chard. These may seem like ordinary vegetables, but within their leaves lies one of the most effective natural tools to cleanse and protect your arteries, dietary nitrates. When consumed, these compounds are converted into nitric oxide in the body, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, improves circulation, and reduces blood pressure. Over time, this process supports what scientists call endothelial function, the ability of your arteries to expand and contract smoothly, without stiffness or resistance. But here's what's shocking. In a large observational study published in the European Journal of Epidemiology, researchers followed over 50,000 people for more than 23 years. Those who consumed the highest amounts of nitrate-rich vegetables, particularly leafy greens, had a significantly lower risk of cardiovascular disease and death. And yet, most older adults barely touch them. Frank was one of those people. He grew up with meat and potatoes. Salads were something he picked around on holidays. After retirement, his diet only got worse. He liked convenience, microwaved meals, canned stews, white bread with butter. His doctor warned him about his rising blood pressure, but Frank believed that a few pills a day would be enough. By the time he turned 75, he began noticing something. Climbing stairs made his legs burn. He felt dizzy standing up. And he often complained that his hands and feet were always cold. What he didn't realize was that his blood vessels were narrowing, stiffening, quietly starving his body of oxygen. Helen chose a different path. She started adding a small side salad to her lunch every day. Baby spinach, olive oil, a squeeze of lemon. It became a ritual. Then came smoothies with kale and steamed chard at dinner. Slowly, her taste buds adjusted. What began as a health experiment turned into a way of life. Her blood pressure dropped without medication. She felt more energy on her morning walks. Her doctor told her year after year that her heart sounded strong and steady. No murmurs, no flags, no signs of vascular disease. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but it did happen. The real secret isn't in one magical vegetable. It's in the habit, the consistency. The quiet choice to feed your arteries every single day with what they need to stay open, elastic, and alive. Now, moving to the second factor that silently affects longevity: inflammation. You can't see it, you can't feel it. But low-grade inflammation is one of the most destructive forces inside the aging body. And when it targets the arteries, it doesn't just irritate the vessel walls, it begins to erode them. That's where berries come in: blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. These small, vibrant fruits are packed with compounds called anthocyanins, a class of polyphenols responsible for their deep colors and potent biological effects. Scientific studies have shown that anthocyanins reduce oxidative stress, dampen inflammation, and even improve cholesterol profiles. They protect the endothelium, the thin layer of cells lining the blood vessels, keeping it smooth and free of damage. In one clinical trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, people who consumed just 1 cup of blueberries per day showed significant improvements in blood vessel function and arterial stiffness in only 6 weeks. Frank never had a sweet tooth. But what he did crave was convenience. Instead of snacking on fruit, he reached for crackers, pretzels, and cookies. His idea of dessert was a slice of pie or store-bought pudding. He didn't see the harm. It was just a treat. But what he didn't know was that over time, those ultra-processed snacks were feeding the very inflammation that narrowed his arteries and burdened his heart. Helen, on the other hand, had a habit. Every morning, before her walk, she would have a bowl of oatmeal topped with fresh blueberries and a spoonful of flaxseed. It wasn't a diet. It was just part of her rhythm. On weekends, she'd visit the local farmer's market and stock up on frozen organic berries when they were out of season. For her, these weren't just colorful toppings. They were daily medicine disguised as food. She may not have known the term anthocyanin, but she knew how she felt. Her joints were less stiff, her mind was clearer, and her energy, even on cloudy days, remained steady. What you put on your plate either feeds the fire of inflammation or helps put it out. And in the battle for clean, healthy arteries, berries are among the most powerful allies nature has to offer. The first thing that often goes unnoticed is how closely the heart and the brain are connected, especially as we age. It's not just about cholesterol or blocked arteries, it's about circulation. When blood doesn't flow freely to the brain, cognition suffers, memory slips, reaction time slows, even mood can darken. That's why what you eat affects more than your heart. It touches your mind. Fatty fish are among the most powerful foods to support both. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, and trout are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA. These compounds are deeply anti-inflammatory and have been shown to protect against the very processes that age the arteries: plaque formation, arterial stiffness, and high blood pressure. In a landmark study published in the journal Circulation, researchers followed over 26,000 healthy women for more than 10 years. Those with the highest intake of omega-3 fatty acids had a significantly lower risk of developing major cardiovascular events, including heart attacks and strokes. Frank never cared much for fish. He grew up far from the coast, and he always said it tasted like the ocean. His meals leaned heavily on red meat, sausages, burgers, pork chops. His idea of seafood was fried fish sticks once in a while. As the years passed, so did his ability to concentrate. He started repeating himself, forgetting appointments, misplacing simple things. His doctor said it was mild cognitive decline. Nothing urgent but worth monitoring. Still, he didn't change much. Helen had a different attitude. In her 60s, she read a book about the Mediterranean diet and was fascinated by the role of fish. She started small, grilled salmon once a week, then sardines on whole grain toast. It became a weekly habit, then a lifestyle. She even learned to prepare fish tacos for her grandkids, who loved them. Over time, her lipid panel improved. Her blood pressure dropped slightly, and perhaps most importantly, her mind stayed sharp. She could still balance her checkbook without a calculator. She never forgot a birthday. And during her community book club discussions, she led with clarity, passion, and insight. Fatty fish don't just protect your arteries. They protect the whole you, your heart, your mind, your memories. Another habit that often gets ignored is the kind of fat you use every day. Not the amount, but the source. Because not all fats are the same. Some inflame and constrict the arteries, others soothe and protect them. And one, in particular, has stood the test of time, praised by science and tradition alike: extra virgin olive oil. This golden liquid is rich in monounsaturated fats and powerful antioxidants like oleocanthal. These compounds have been shown to lower LDL cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and support the integrity of the arterial wall. More than a dressing or cooking oil, olive oil is a daily dose of vascular defense. In a large-scale study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, researchers found that people who consumed more than half a tablespoon of olive oil per day had up to a 21% lower risk of cardiovascular disease and a 15% lower risk of dying from any cause, compared to those who rarely used it. Frank never paid attention to oils. He used whatever was cheap: margarine, vegetable shortening, canola. He fried his eggs in butter, deep-fried chicken in his backyard, and rarely read a label. He believed flavor came from fat, and fat meant heavy, salty, greasy food. Over time, that kind of fat built up, not just on his plate, but inside his arteries. Helen discovered olive oil later in life. It started when she visited her daughter in California and tasted a homemade salad with fresh olive oil and herbs. The flavor surprised her: rich, peppery, clean. When she returned home, she bought a small bottle and began experimenting. She used it in soups, over vegetables, even on toast instead of butter. It wasn't a diet. It was a shift in taste, a subtle upgrade. Within a year, her triglycerides dropped. Her cholesterol ratio improved, and her doctor smiled during their checkup, noting that, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Helen didn't just change her oil, she changed her outcome. Every drop of olive oil you use in place of a processed fat is a step toward cleaner arteries, calmer inflammation, and better heart health. It's a small habit with massive ripple effects. Here's the fifth behavior that slowly undermines your health: ignoring ancient wisdom that modern science keeps confirming. For thousands of years, garlic has been used across cultures not just as flavor, but as medicine. And today, its benefits for cardiovascular health are more than folklore. They're measurable, documented, and remarkably powerful. Garlic contains a bioactive compound called allicin, which is released when the cloves are crushed or chopped. Allicin helps reduce blood pressure, lower LDL cholesterol, and, most importantly, slows the progression of arterial calcification. This is the hardening and narrowing of the arteries that silently increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes with age. A clinical study published in the Journal of Nutrition showed that aged garlic extract not only reduced plaque buildup in arteries but also improved artery elasticity in people with metabolic syndrome, a condition common in older adults that dramatically raises cardiovascular risk. Frank never cared for garlic, said it was too strong, too smelly. He avoided it in recipes and preferred processed seasonings, salt, prepackaged mixes, bottled sauces. Over the years, his blood pressure crept up. He was prescribed medication, but he missed doses. He often felt lightheaded, especially in the morning. What he didn't know was that his arteries were stiffening, slowly, quietly. And garlic could have been one of the simplest things to help. Helen, however, embraced garlic. It reminded her of her grandmother's cooking. She learned how to sauté it gently, never burning it, always coaxing out its richness. She made homemade soups, roasted vegetables with garlic and herbs, even infused her olive oil. It wasn't medicine. It was a joy. But her blood pressure told another story. At 78, her systolic pressure was better than it had been 20 years earlier. Her doctor double-checked the reading. No medication, no supplements, just food. The right food, in the right amounts, at the right time. Garlic doesn't need to be eaten raw or in huge amounts to help. A little, consistently, goes a long way. And over time, it can mean the difference between restricted blood flow and a body that stays warm, alert, and alive. As we move forward, there's a sixth pattern that deserves attention: the fear of fat. For decades, people were told to avoid fat at all costs, that it clogged arteries, raised cholesterol, and led straight to heart attacks. But the science has shifted. We now understand that it's not fat itself, but the kind of fat that makes all the difference. And few foods challenge old assumptions more beautifully than nuts. Almonds, walnuts, pistachios, pecans. These are more than crunchy snacks. They're nutrient-dense powerhouses, packed with heart-protective fats, plant sterols, magnesium, and antioxidants. Together, these compounds help lower LDL cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and support smoother, more elastic arteries. In a large-scale study from Harvard, researchers found that people who ate a small handful of nuts 5 times a week had a significantly lower risk of cardiovascular disease and sudden cardiac death compared to those who rarely ate them. Frank didn't trust nuts. He thought they were too fatty and hard to digest. Besides, they cost more than chips or crackers. He never saw the point. When he snacked, it was usually something salty, starchy, and processed. Over time, he gained weight around his middle, the kind of fat most dangerous to the heart. His cholesterol numbers stayed high despite medication. His arteries grew stiffer, and each year, his energy dipped a little more. Helen kept a jar of mixed nuts in her kitchen. Not as a diet food, but as something she enjoyed. A few almonds after lunch, walnuts in her oatmeal. She even made her own trail mix with dried fruit and dark chocolate for her afternoon walks. It became part of her routine, satisfying, nourishing, and protective. When her blood work came back at age 80, her doctor told her she had the cholesterol profile of a healthy 50-year-old. No statins, no heart disease, just consistent care. Nuts aren't indulgence, they're prevention. When eaten in moderation, and in place of processed snacks, they don't just protect your heart. They give your arteries the nutrients they need to stay clear and flexible. So now looking back, what made the difference? Frank and Helen were born in the same year, lived through the same decades, faced the same aging process. But one walked a path of decline, while the other chose a path of renewal. The difference wasn't in a miracle drug. It wasn't in genetic luck. It was in the quiet, consistent choices, the ones most people ignore. Helen chose leafy greens that opened her arteries instead of meals that narrowed them. She added berries that fought inflammation instead of snacks that fueled it. She embraced fatty fish, olive oil, garlic, and a handful of nuts, not as a diet, but as an act of care, as a commitment to stay independent, to stay clear, to stay alive. Frank, on the other hand, stuck with the familiar. He trusted medications more than meals. He waited for symptoms instead of preventing them. And by the time he realized what was happening, the damage had already begun. But here's the truth no one tells you. It's never too late to start. The human body is remarkably resilient. Arteries can respond. Inflammation can be calmed. Blood pressure can drop. And life, real, vibrant life, can return. Every meal is a message. Every bite a decision. Not just about taste, but about time. Time with your family. Time with your mind intact. Time in your own home, your own garden, your own memories. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional. So now the question is yours. Will you follow Frank's path or Helen's? If you felt something in this story, if it sparked reflection or even a small desire to change, then take one step today. Add one food, make one better choice, because one small shift can change the next 10 years. Comment below what food you're going to add to your day starting now. And if this spoke to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Because every week, we're bringing you more real stories, backed by science, designed to help you live longer, stronger, and wiser.